So this is how my December dailies are starting to look. And on this slow stitch Saturday, I'm looking at it and it's going to be like this, but I think that's a little bit too plain there. I don't quite like it. So on the other one, let me just pull it over here. I have decided to add a little bit more there. I added some lace up here, and again, I just did some really small tack stitches. I had this little piece of this cardinal, and it was from, I think, Joann's. Let me just straighten that out a little bit. And so I cut it out. And so now when I go to attach this to the book, I'll be able to add a little bit more here because it does, you know, kind of, it lays further out when it's flat, but when I will go to adhere it down, it's going to stick out a little bit there. So that may give me an opportunity to add a little bit more red or whatever. So I want to add some more slow stitching here. And like I said, I just did a little bit of, again, just some plain fabric on the back to give this piece some stability. I added a tiny bit of lace there. And now I want to do a blanket stitch to adhere this piece to this. Now, let me show you the book that I refer to for my stitches to learn them. There's a volume 1 and a volume 2, A to Z embroidery stitches. And here is the blanket stitch. Now, when you look at this blanket stitch, do you see how perfectly straight that is? I've never been able to accomplish that, so I do a messy blanket stitch so it looks more purposeful, like as if, oh, it's supposed to be like that. So let's bring this in. And so what you're going to do is you have your two pieces of fabric. You have one on top of the other, and that's what I have here. So what you do is you come up on the outside at point A. And what I'm using here is just some DMC, where is the color? It's not this color, but it is a DMC number 5. I'm not sure what I've done with the actual roll, but I have cut off a piece. It's a darker color than this that I'm using. So you come up at A, and because I'm right-handed, you are going to come in at B, which is up with both, you know, between the, let me try to get my words out. You're going to come up at about there. And then you're going to bring your needle up right on the edge of the two of those pieces of fabric coming together. And then you just pull it through, and it makes that kind of a little outline there. So then you're going to go to your next one. So you're going to come, and because I'm not very good at doing a straight line, I'm actually going to come down further, and I think I can pull this pin out. I'm actually going to come further down, but still come up where the two meet. Do you see that? And then you're going to make sure this thread is underneath the one you're pulling on. So do you see how then you have a nice line there, but this is kind of slanted. So then I come up higher again, and I may even come up even a little bit higher, but I come putting my needle down, and I want to make sure that I catch both the front and back, and just only clip this edge here. And I have to take my glasses off so I can see better. See, I just clipped that edge. So I'm going to push the needle through, make sure this thread is underneath, and pull it through. And then it gives you that line there, okay? So now I'm going to come to a shorter stitch. And it looks purposeful to me, because if I tried to do it all in a straight line across there, I wouldn't be able to. I have tried and tried and tried, and I just cannot seem to be able to do it. So let me just get the book out of the way. So then now I can come back here to a higher one, bring it underneath, make sure my thread is underneath the needle, and pull it through. This is called a blanket stitch. There are several types of blanket stitches. Oh, double blanket stitch, pinwheel blanket stitch, detached blanket stitch, a twisted detached blanket stitch. But I'm just going, let's see what else here. The long and short. Oh, this is the one I do, see? Long and short. Yes. Then it looks purposeful. There's a looped blanket stitch and scalloped blanket stitch. But this is the one I'm doing here. Oops, sorry for whacking the camera. Okay, so let's continue on. So now I had a long stitch, so now I'm going to do a little bit of a shorter stitch here. Just underneath. You want it fairly close to that edge, and then just bring it all the way through. And this will hold your fabric down. So I'm going to go kind of big up here, and then just right there. I'm now going through both the linen and some cotton and the other little stitch. Okay, so now that is that. Now, I've never, oh, what the heck? Oh, sister. Now I'm going to have to pull all of these through, but it's no big deal. I'm just going to put my needle through. You guys should have told me that. That was sticking out there. I think if I just bring this underneath here, it's going to, yeah, it's going to be able to be okay. And I'm going to use the blunt side of the needle. I thought I had pulled that all the way through, and I guess I hadn't. Dang it. But you can repair stuff, as you can see. I'm just putting the blunt side of the needle, pulling it through, and I got so busy yammering to you guys that I didn't pay attention to that. There you go. A little bit difficult getting underneath there with that lace. I think if I just pull that like that, and then I'm going to have to kind of tack that down. There. Okay. Problem solved. Now, the one thing I've always had problems doing is the corners. So what I'm going to do is I am going to bring this over here and tack that down there. So it kind of runs all together. Then I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to come up on the edge here. Right there. Come up on the edge, pull it taut, and then go down and then back up just right on the edge there, and make sure that this thread is underneath. Okay, so that's good. Now I'm going to have to be a little bit careful because I don't want to, if you can see it here, the word blessings is here. And I don't want to cover up that word. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here way below in between the S and the G, and I'm going to come up in between them. And then if I pull that like that, it doesn't impede me seeing that G. And let's see, should I skip one or go each letter? I think I'm going to go each letter, but I'm going to just go real small here. Yeah, like I said, I'm going through a bunch of different fabrics. Okay, so you see how that I'm still able to see all the letters of blessings. So I'm going to continue sewing this and tacking it down, and then I'll be back with you guys. So that's how that piece turned out. I thought quite nice. And I found the green color I used. It's DMC Cotton Perle 936. I like that it's kind of a mossy green. Now the next thing I want to do is use some of this thread. You guys saw Rachel use it in her slow stitch piece, and I was with her when she bought it. And I think she, knowing Rachel, my sweet Rachel, she's such an enabler. She probably threw it in my basket and said, "Here, you need this too." We have so much fun shopping together. So what I'm going to do is now some French knots. And I love doing French knots because they're, to me, pretty easy. So I've doubled up my thread, and there is a needle, a knot. Yes, there's a needle. There's a knot. And so all you have to do is come up where you want your knot to be. Bring your thread through till you feel it be tight. You grab a hold of your thread. You pull it to the left, at least for me, because I am right-handed, and you wrap the needle around the thread however many times you want. For these, I'm doing it 3 times. So 1, 2, 3, and then you lay it down, kind of pull it to the left so it's tight, and then you push your needle through. And then bring it all the way through, and that will create that knot. You see that? I love French knots. They're probably one of the first stitches that I learned that was a little decorative. So 1, 2, 3, pull it a little bit tight over to the side and all the way through. So let's do some French knots here. And it's going through linen, so it's a little bit tougher. And metallic thread also does fray sometimes. But I am going to try to bring one here. Oh, that went through pretty easily, actually. Let's see if I can get some on this. Oh, let's see. What other story can I tell you about my trip? Oh, well, there was one kind of funny story again. So I am so used to using my turn signals. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like nobody used their turn signals when we were driving in Europe. And we were driving one day, and there was a guy following me, and you can kind of tell, because I was using Google Maps, I was reading the signs in a foreign language. I was driving a little bit slower than the average person in Europe. And you could kind of tell he was getting a little bit irritated, and every time, and he couldn't pass because it was a double lane and there were cars coming both ways, so he couldn't pass. I'm going to drop my needle so that it untangles, because it's getting tangled up, I can tell. So I just had to drop it to the side. But you could tell he was kind of riding my tail, and he was getting irritated with me. And I kept telling Vern, I said, you know what, I'm just I'm not going to let them rattle me because I didn't want to make a mistake and maybe, take a wrong turn or, get in an accident. So no matter how impatient people got with my driving, I just still drove the way I was going to drive. But anyways, so every time I'm turning, I'm using my turn signal to, let both him behind me know I'm turning and the people in front of me. And he finally gets to a point where he can pass me. But then he slows down, like really slow, so that I'm kind of trapped behind him. He could have gone faster, but all of a sudden now he decides he wants to go slow. And he puts on his turn signal as he's driving slow, but he's not turning. But he literally, you could see, he turned it on. And I'm thinking, well, you little stinker, you're just kind of jabbing at me because I'm using my turn signal. We laughed about that one too. I'm like, oh my heavens. But I'm so grateful that the whole time we drove, we, we're safe, no accidents, just irritated people at me, I could tell. And I just kept telling Vern, I'm not going to let him rattle me. I'm not going to do it. It's not going to happen. The other thing is the reason I kept saying it is because Vern was very nervous traveling. She hasn't traveled a lot outside the United States, and it gave her a little bit of anxiety. So I mostly kept saying it to calm her down, but also calm myself down. But oh my gosh, now isn't this pretty how this is just adding just a little bit of sparkle here to this? I think I need to come over here. I'm like, I can't stop once I start doing these little French knots. I just think they're so much fun and they're easy for me. So anyway, but I can tell my thread's kind of getting tangled again, so I'm going to lift it up and let it kind of untangle. So I'm going to continue doing a few more French knots here and there, and then I'll be back with you guys again. I've done a couple of more things. I came in with some of this really beautiful, sparkly, I believe it's from Sue Spargo, red thread, and I did some French knots around here. And then the person who is getting this journal, her first name starts with the letter A. And so I'm going to add this small little A from one of my Italian laundry labels, and I'm just going to run across it real quick, tiny bit, so it doesn't move on me. I'm going to put it right up there and just ran it across real quick, some of the glue stick. And then the thread I'm going to use is just this 100% polyester, very thin red thread, and I have it already on a needle And I'm going to start and just do little small little stitches. You got to find the right spot. And I don't want it too close to the A, but I want it to catch the laundry label. So I think I did okay there. And I'm just taking tiny, tiny little stitches just to hold it in place. And then I'm going to come up here in this corner. Yeah, that'll be okay. And then go down. I wish I'd have gone over just a tiny bit, but it'll be okay. It's slow stitching, and like I said, that's the thing we love about slow stitching. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I was thinking about other stories. So one of the nights when we were in Aix-en-Provence, Vern and I went out to dinner, and I had done a little bit of research on the restaurant. The menu looked great. It was not a Michelin star restaurant, but it looked good. And when we told the concierge where we were going to go for dinner, he goes, "Oh, that's good. That's a good restaurant." So I was very excited because I was ready to have some really good French food with a nice French sauce. And the meal started out okay. They brought us, um, a couple of appetizers as just to start our meal, and they were good. And then neither Vern or I really care for fish. Boy, I want to get it right in the middle of that A. I'm going to turn this over so I can see a little bit better. But neither of us really like a hunk of fish. So we decided to order the steak. And it said on the menu, tenderloin. Now, if you know your meats, you know a tenderloin steak, that is just not going, is supposed to be quite tender. And the other thing that was on the menu was an accompaniment of, I'm just going to go down here like this and poke this and maybe make a hole, and then it will be where I need it to come up. Nope, that's not there. Well, kind of. Anyway, so, oh yeah, there I got it. So anyway, what was supposed to come with the meal was a potato dish that is to die for. It literally is, they take butter and butter a dish, ever so slightly, just a little bit of fresh garlic. I mean, tiny bit. Fresh nutmeg, tiny little bit at the bottom. And then they take potatoes and they slice them almost paper thin with, it's called Madeleine, but that's the cake or the cookie. What is that called? I think it's that. Anyway, it's a real thin slicer. And I thought that's what we were getting. And so I was really excited about that. Well, they bring the steaks and they are like eating leather. They were so tough that, number one, it was not a tenderloin. And then the potatoes were actually just slices of potatoes that were sliced like ruffled potato chips, and they were deep fried. But I know they weren't like really ruffled potato chips like what we get here in the United States. They were homemade, but they were supposed to be that other dish that is with heavy whipping cream. Oh yeah, did I not finish telling you about the how to make the dish? So it's the thinly sliced potatoes that are paper thin, and then they're layered in a baking dish with, salt and pepper over them, and then heavy whipping cream is poured over the top, and they are baked. And they are to die for. But instead, we get these homemade ruffle potato chips, which, I guess would have been okay. But this is what they do: they lay the chips over a salad. And so, what do you think happened to the chips as they're over this salad with this dressing? They get soggy. And I'm telling you, I was so upset. And the meal was not cheap. And neither Vern or I drink. So, we didn't have a liquor bill. And I was so disappointed. So disappointed. Anyway, there's my A for my friend who is going to get this Christmas journal. Now I'm going to think about putting something here. So let me vacillate on that. I'll insert a few pictures of the restaurant. So here we are walking up to the restaurant, which happens to be part of a hotel. And that is the name of the restaurant. There's a picture of me in the dining room. Now, when you're married to a French chef and you go to 3-star Michelin restaurants, you always look at the back of the tableware to make sure that it is the absolute best available. So I got in the habit of doing that. That was just a little appetizer they gave us. That pate was excellent. I loved that. And the dessert was good also. But like I said, the steak and potatoes were terrible. Now, I was finally able to get my French meal that I wanted in the little village of Saint Remy. That's the name of the restaurant. They started out giving me cold celery soup, which was delicious. And then I had chicken with morel sauce. And if you've never had morels before, it's a mushroom. It is absolutely delicious. And then you poured that over rice. And then, of course, there's nothing better than good French bread. So I was very happy with that meal. Okay, enough about French food. Let's get back to our slow stitching. So I've added some more things. I did a little Christmas tree down here with some French knots. I ran some thread through there. I did this here where just some, I think it's called, what's it called? Stem stitching, and then French knots, then some little X's and what have you. And I brought over the book, the December Daily, it's going to go on. And remember I said I want a lot of this green to show, but when I have this on here, on the book, this looks a little bit too rough for me. That's the way it's going to look on the back. You're still going to see a lot of that green, but this edging looks a little bit too rough. So I want to add something to it. And I have some of this gold trim that I bought in Italy. I do have it in my shop, and I think it's 60 inches for $7. So that's like 1.5 yards, a little bit over 1.5 yards, but this is how much you'll get, which is quite a bit. But I want to add that onto there. So I think it would go nicely. So I'm going to have it come up. Oops, sorry. I'm going to have it come up a little bit above that edging here. So it's about midway between that lace. I do have some thread already on a needle, and it's this thread here that I had bought in Australia, and I'm just going to start tacking this down. And I'm not going to cut it yet because I want to see how far I want it to come down. Oops, oh shoot. My needle came unthreaded. Let me thread that again. I have an eye doctor appointment today, thank goodness, because I'm constantly having to pull down my glasses and put whatever I'm sewing right in front of my eyes to be able to see. So yeah, I'm just going to do some stab stitches here to attach that, and probably right along the edge. And so what I'm going to do is turn it this way so that I'm able to see it really well. And because I have to catch the edge of that fabric right there. So yes, I have a eye doctor's appointment today. So I'm sure my eyesight has changed. So I will be getting some new glasses, and it will be great to be able to see up close again. That's the nice thing again about going back to slow stitching, is it does not have to be perfect. I'm just doing some stab stitches here and there along this edge with this gold thread just to attach this to the edge. And I think that's going to make it really nice. The other thing I need to do is my community, my HOA. And if those of you that don't live in the United States don't know what that is, it's an organization of a neighborhood in which you have to pay every single month of fee, and definitely, it's definitely cheaper here in Peoria than it was in Gilbert, Arizona. But they kind of help enforce the rules of the neighborhood, meaning, Fiona, stop it. Shh. Come here. Come on. Come here. They enforce the rules of the neighborhood, like, for instance, you, Rachel, where the lady hangs the sheets outside of the window. If you had a HOA, they would go and maybe fine her for doing that. So it does cost you money, but it helps to where you don't have to contact the neighbor. You can just do it anonymously through the HOA and tell them, hey, this lady's hanging her linens outside my window and I can't see. And the HOA would take care of it. So anyway, my HOA is having a community garage sale tomorrow. And it gives you a nice opportunity to be able to get rid of some stuff that you just don't need anymore. See, I'm almost not catching it there, so I need to bring this over a little bit and make sure that I am catching that edge. Most of the time I am, so I'm just going to go over a little bit more. So yeah, I need to go through my garage and decide what I need to get rid of. Obviously, it's things that are just sitting in the garage and you're not using them. A lot of them are some pictures that were in my other home. I had a much bigger home in Gilbert, and so I had a lot more wall space for pictures and what have you, and I just don't have that here. So I need to get rid of some of that stuff. I had a king size bed in Gilbert, and now I have a queen size bed, so I have a king comforter that needs to be sold and gotten rid of, and so just a lot of stuff. So let me kind of finish this up. I do want to come down a little bit past here. So now I can kind of bring this over just a little bit. Ouch, I stepped myself. So that it's kind of going through the lace. Oh, and I just unthreaded the dang needle again. Sticking myself, unthreading the needle. What's a woman to do? Hopefully I'm not going to bleed. Nope. So yeah, so that's what I have going on today. It's a beautiful day. You heard Fiona barking. It's because I have the front door open and then just the screen. And then I have a screen on the back door of the slider. Pull this up. And so then a nice breeze will come through the house. I'm just going to do this like this, because I don't think I want it to go all the way down. Yeah, I think that's about it. Just a little bit. So I'm going to cut this off right there. And then tack this down just a little bit more over here. and then we will see what this looks like on the book. And then for Monday's video, which is usually journal making, I will start working on pockets and flip outs and things like that for this December daily. Okay, see, it's now, I'm just kind of running through here. There is a little bit of lace there, so I'm going to continue stitching here just a little bit because I think it will help just ever so slightly. And this is going to be glued down or maybe with some PVA glue or some double-sided tape, but let's tie this off and we will hold this up to the book and see what it looks like. Thanks, Rachel, for throwing this thread in my basket. I'm sure you did. Oh. All right, one more, which probably doesn't even need it, but. All right, let's see. See that? I think that finished it. That really looks pretty there. So let's pull in the book. Oh yeah. It's a little cockeyed there, but that's okay. Maybe once I get it on the book, it'll stretch out. But yeah, I think that helped. Don't you guys think that helped a lot on that edge? You can still see a lot of the green. Yeah, I think I'm done with this one. It may come over just a tiny bit more, but then that's going to be the spine. You're going to see that, and then the lace is up there, and then this is the back, and again, you're going to be able to see the green book. I think that's perfect. I like that. That really added to that. So that one's done. Now this next one is my personal December daily. And let's see what it's going to look like. So it's going to go on the book like that. See, I might want to put some of this gold trim up here. Just, I like the raw edge, but then I don't like it. I don't know, I think that kind of finishes it off a little bit better. I probably wouldn't go the whole way, maybe just till there. Let's hold that there. Yeah, I think that's what I need to do there, is put some of this here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera, and then I will be back with you guys. So I have finished both of the books, and I've adhered the covers onto them just using regular old Elmer's PVA glue. I put it on the book, then I used this silicone spreader to spread it out. And so I love how this one looks. Now, like I said, this is going to be my personal one. And then this one is for my friend. I added this here, and I'm going to insert a picture to show you why I did that. It was very wonky. And I wanted to hide how wonky it was, so I added that on top of it. But I think this one is pretty too. I love it. So anyway, the outside covers are done on both December dailies. In Monday's video, it will be starting to construct pockets and flip outs and corner tucks and all kinds of things, the inside of the journal, what I'm going to do on the inside. So anyway, like always, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I'll see you guys on Monday. Thanks, and bye-bye.